ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thank you so much for joining me for this brand new interview. Okay, so this is pretty special right now. I'm talking to one of the inspirations for me becoming a commentator. You may have seen her on AEW Dark as a part of the commentary team, but not only that, she's also a professional wrestler and as well as a backstage interviewer. She's done a lot of stuff in the professional wrestling scene, but not only that, a New Year's baby, very cool New Year's baby as well, and also the owner of the best Chia pets in all the universe. So ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the one and only Veda Scott. How are you?
Hello. Hi.
So one thing I did want to point out is the fact that you do own some Chia pets on your own. I'm actually starting to get into that myself. So
I do. I draw. So I don't. I'm from the States. I'm in Canada right now for a little while. So I didn't bring them with me. But when I was putting everything away before I left, I actually dropped the Baby Yoda one and the ear cracked off.
Oh
so
no!
I put it back on with Gorilla Glue, and I don't know if that's gonna like harm the integrity of the Chia pet because it's not the part that gets the seeds on it, it's another part of it. So I haven't tried it yet, glued together. But
I mean, hey, everything happens for a reason. But before we get into everything, I do want to congratulate you on your engagement. I know I'm a little bit late, but I hope you and Mike Bailey, nothing but the best. Actually, speaking about Mike Bailey, he actually inspired me back when I used to watch him in PWG to actually do karate as a kid. So I do want to thank him for that.
He's giving you a thumbs up.
Thank you, Mike. But speaking about Veda Scott a little bit, of course, we did talk about the Chia pets and all that. One thing that I did find cool is just the energy that you bring, no matter if it's in front of the camera, behind the camera. Where did that positive energy come for you?
I'm sorry. It's I don't know. I think it's like a very conscious choice all the time. Because I am like sometimes I'm a very like I don't want to say a shy person, but people have asked me this before, like my like natural countenance is kind of like quiet, and I like to be alone. Not like alone, but like I'm not a very like social out there type of person. So in order to do that aspect of life in general, but pro wrestling, like that's an important part of pro wrestling is just sort of like your connection with people and networking. That was a thing that I had to work on a lot consciously. So I think a lot of it is just like putting the reps in to not just be by myself all the time and like kind of put myself out there more, which is not something that's comes naturally to me at all, like at all.
Well, absolutely. Once again, when I did mention about your positive attitude and the kind of the influence that you have within the professional wrestling world, I feel like that we really need that a lot more, especially with 2020 being the year that it is.
Yeah. This year, I think for a lot of us who are performers, especially people who were performing full time. Now, obviously, we're not the only people in this situation. A lot of people have had their lives and their livelihood just completely upended. I've also worked in the restaurant industry since I was a teenager, so that's another business aspect that's really close to me, and that's another industry that's been just obliterated by this. So it's not just professional wrestlers and not just performers, but I think performers in particular, the whole reason we perform is an audience, and to not be able to have an audience and sometimes not be able to perform at all depending on what your current situation is, I think has been really difficult. And I think a lot of people tie I think a lot of performers and pro wrestlers in particular, because there's a certain kind of personality that gets into this, a lot of people tie their identity to it, and I think that seeing a lot of like people sort of like, what am I now, has been really hard. So yeah, I think a lot of this has just been, this is this thing that we did and now we don't have this thing, so what else can we do? And trying to like not let that be the end all be all, apart from of course the logistical concerns of like, how will I pay my rent this month,
Right.
Not to like let your entire being be wrapped up in this one thing, and how you can turn that I've been totally wrapped up this one thing into maybe like something else. I don't know, maybe not another like industry, but like another like way to sort of get your validation. Maybe not from just one thing.
Absolutely, and just getting that validation is most important. But speaking about Veda Scott, of course, I did mention in the intro that you are a New Year's baby, and then so I'm kind of curious: does the celebration continue after it turns midnight every single New Year's Day?
That is out. That's 100% just allergies. I'm allergic to everything. Um, So no, actually being New Year's baby, for the most part, sucks. I was first baby born in my hospital. I was born at a time when it was like not such a big deal. This was like pre-social media, so like my mother didn't like time my birth rate. Like that's a thing now, and you get like tons of stuff for it. But when I was growing up, the two bad things about it was all part of like one holiday season, like Christmas and Hanukkah is right there, and then it's my birthday, and it's kind of like all got mashed together. And then as I got older and like celebrating on New Year's became more of a thing, no one even like knew it was my birthday, and that's fine. I'm actually very comfortable with that. In recent years, there's been a couple times when I've been able to be in Japan for New Year's, which wrestling wise is like a fun celebration. So that was cool. But yeah, it's nice because a lot of times like now people associate like, oh, it's my birthday and they remember it's my birthday, but also I don't really care. So it's okay if you know it's my birthday. I probably don't know it's yours. Now with social media, you don't have to remember that sort of stuff. It just pops up.
Absolutely. I mean, there's stuff like Facebook where just it reminds you someone's birthday is there when you've completely
Yeah, and like
forgot.
if you go on their Twitter page, there's balloons. So
Yeah. I mean,
count.
hey, it is a birthday and it is worth celebrating. But you did mention before that you guys are in quarantine currently and
Yes.
stuck in Canada. What has been the process like for you during this time?
So for the past, I guess, well, the border closed in the mid-March. So for the past like 9, 10 months, I've been in the States and not really doing anything or traveling at all, obviously, because you can't and should not. But the border's been closed, so I haven't been able to come up here at all. And that is after coming up here fairly frequently and sometimes for like very long durations. Like, I was here for all of February, and then left at the very end of February to come and do like 2 shows in the States and then come back, and then the border closed. So I've been in the States that whole time, and now that there's different exceptions have been made that allowed me to get a temporary, sort of like a temporary visa waiver to come back. I'm here, and Canada, the quarantine rules are very, very, very strict. Good. And so I had to, when I got to the border, I had to hand over all my paperwork. I had to get approved there. And then once you're here, you do have to quarantine for the 14 days. And then Speedball is also in quarantine with me. So that's no work, no leaving, no anything for the 14 days. He's done it already before because he returned from a trip to Japan in April. So he's already done this before. And I know that there's been some other, Canadians that I knew that have come back home who had to do the quarantine. So it's not that bad. I mean, it's only 14 days, but they are very strict about it. There's an app that I have to check into every day, and they can call and make sure that you're where you say you're supposed to be. And obviously, there are rules for like what the quarantine space can be. But yeah, so I'm a week into it now and going.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of things that you do during quarantine. Some people just watch, binge watch Netflix shows. Some people just do a lot of just crafts, sometimes on their own inside their room. Is there like a particular thing that you guys have been doing during this quarantine process?
Well, we have a puzzle going right now that we're almost ordered. We're gonna have to order another puzzle. We had a plan to like make a lot of content during the 2 weeks we were okay. So we're in Montreal, so everything in Quebec is pretty locked down anyway. And then Ontario's kind of just gone into a lockdown too. So everything's like pretty locked down here anyway. So it's not like we'd be out and doing anything, but like could go outside and for a walk or something. We had a plan to like make a ton of content, and we've done almost none of that yet because we've already, so like I feel like it's all been seen. All right, like no one needs to see another home workout. You know what it is. Like, so we'll figure something out. Mostly, we've been doing this puzzle, watching a lot of wrestling, watching. I had to finish The Crown.
Oh, good.
I just finished that. We're on the Queen's Gambit now. I've been trying to force watch a lot of Christmas movies because they're all bad and I love them. But yeah, so it's not been like the most productive time period, but that's kind of good, I think, because I haven't had like a total downtime in a long time. So doing okay so far.
Absolutely. And you talk about trying to produce new content. I think the one that really stands out to me, especially when it comes to your guys' YouTube channel, was on a FaceTime call. Yourself and Mike Bailey were on a FaceTime call, and then Mike Bailey shaved his hair
Yeah,
with a beard trimmer. So I just wanted to say that was absolutely awesome. But what was
yeah,
that kind of thing like?
that was when he first got back to Canada from Japan, which was like a whole ordeal because everything was shut down. And at that time, like Quebec was into a total lockdown, so there was no hairdressers or anything open. So he had to cut his hair, and yeah, all that was handy was beard trimmer. So I think that was during his quarantine. I think like he couldn't go out or go anywhere. But yeah, it grew back pretty fast as it does. Um, we haven't shaved it again yet, but
It's almost there. We're in the process of.
but yeah,
So
so it's had several subsequent haircuts professionally. But I don't know. I didn't mind the shaved head.
I mean, hey, a lot of people had to reserve to that during the times when the hair salons were closed, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, I do my own hair, so it doesn't matter. But
Absolutely. So when it talks about Veda Scott, of course, we also do want to mention that you did study law during your time in university. Can you talk about when that background of studying law and having that degree with you kind of reminiscent to your work today?
oh, it honestly has nothing to do with my work in wrestling. If anything, I am just like a ball of wasted potential. I don't use any of it. Um, no, so I went to law school while I was starting in wrestling, and like so my early years in wrestling, like that all kind of coincided. And then there was a while that I was working as just like a legal assistant part time while I started wrestling, and then I started wrestling full time. Um, so yeah, I have a lot of uh, education because I do 4 years of university and then you do the time in law school. And I keep saying that I'm gonna end up going back for my PhD, which I probably will someday, even though I do not need to and should not. Yeah. I love being in school. So I really enjoyed the experience. I just am not currently practicing because again, I have just potential just out the
No, there is a lot of potential that is actually worth it. I mean, when you look at Veda Scott, she's been doing absolutely great, especially during quarantine.
Yeah, and so I for a long time I didn't like associate the two things together, and then someone wrote wrestling a legal storyline into a wrestling character that I was doing, and I was like, okay, I guess she's a lawyer too. I don't know, and so that's kind of like sometimes a thing and sometimes not. But
Abs-
my whole like Veda's whole aesthetic um is and was what I just looked like when I started wrestling. So it's weird because like my professional life, I do look like the same I look as a wrestler. So there's no like differentiation there at all.
Well, yeah, and that's also a great thing too. You get to showcase yourself in the ring as well as showcase that outside the ring as well. But speaking about that, I do have a unique question for you. So, if you could be any Pokemon, Veda the Pokemon, what Pokemon could you be?
So I'm not a Pokemon person, so don't know a lot of them. The first one that springs to my mind is Jigglypuff because I like the name. I think very body confident, which is important to me. Just sort of like is what it is. So I'm gonna go with that. Again, that's a hot name, Jigglypuff. But other than that, I'm not a huge Pokemon person. So I would have to like what I have to do is sit down and just go through a list and look at them and like learn more about them. So I'm gonna go with Jigglypuff right now, but my answer might change with a little more research.
I mean, yeah, some people would say, Pikachu, that would be the first one that pops up in their head as well.
Yeah, that's the yellow one. So I'm pretty much an expert.
No worries. Okay, then I guess since you're not too familiar with Pokemon, I would say, how about we just switch the question up a little bit and say, if you could be any Chia pet of your choice, what would you be?
So there are a lot of good like old school chia pets that are just animals that are really cool. Long ago, there was a chia pet hedgehog that is pretty sweet. I don't think they make it anymore. It's expensive on eBay. There's a chia pet cat that's really cute, but I'd probably go with that one because a lot of the like celebrity chia pets they have now, they're cool. There's a Weird Al chia pet. There's all the Golden Girls, like lots of chia pets. I like the old animal ones, the ones that last. So I think the cat chia pet is pretty cool. I like that one a lot. Probably that one. Classic.
Absolutely. I mean, personally, for me, I would go with the Garfield one because that's the one I grew up with. So,
Also a cat. So
yeah, absolutely. So, once again, Veda, I do want to thank you for your time and
thank
to
you.
really get a conversation. But before we go, I do have one more question for you. And this is
Yes.
probably the most controversial question in all, just not of sports, but all of the world as well. Do pineapples belong on pizza for you?
Absolutely. Pineapples are, and I've had extensive conversations about this and arguments about this. Pineapples are actually the ideal pizza topping. The chemical composition of a pineapple will change when you cook it. It caramelizes.
Mhm.
Many other toppings don't quite do that, especially if you don't cook them thoroughly. The sweet and the salty and it's honestly it goes with everything. Pineapple is delicious to begin with, but when you have whether it's regular cheese, vegan cheese, no cheese, a tomato sauce, like all of those flavors are a very savory flavor, and that goes really well with the pineapple, especially like I said, when it caramelizes. Perfect. Pineapple, honestly, my ideal pizza, if I had to make one right now, would be tomato base, some sort of cheese, and I would do pineapple, black olive.
Okay.
Although up here a lot of times it's green olive, but black olive, probably mushroom, red onion, and and maybe jalapeno. I like a little spicy.
Whew, a little spicy. I mean, of course, when it comes to pineapple on pizza, there's so many different combinations you can use. Personally, for me, I would love the pineapple just by itself, and then, of course, nothing else on it.
Yes. Okay. That's fair. Uh, sure. As
I
long
mean,
as the
hey,
pineapple's there.
of course. I mean, personally, I'm not a ham fan, sadly, but there's certain different combinations that you could definitely do as well.
Yep. So pineapple does go on pizza. There's actually no other answer.
Well, once again, thank you so much, Veda. If for those who
Thank you.
don't know, you can find her on AEW Dark every single Tuesday. You can find her actually.
Tuesday. Some Tuesdays.
Well,
Occasional Tuesdays.
occasional Tuesdays and of course Fridays as well. But not only that, but you can also find her on the internet searching Veda Scott. You can find her every single where on YouTube, Google. Just put it in the search machine. You will definitely find this
My
individual.
Twitter is where I mostly will actually post stuff, which is at It's Veda Time. That's probably the place to mostly find me. I don't really use my Facebook stuff that much at all, so it's my Twitter mostly.
And speaking about It's Veda time, really quick, was that any homage to the late and great Vader?
I wouldn't say it was an homage, but it definitely was a ripoff of.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Veda, for your time. And
Thank
of
you.
course, make sure to follow her on all social medias. And until we see you again, I will see you guys in the next interview.